everyone. I'm Trenna Allen, and I'm a senior leader for the state and local government ServiceNow business. I cover the Southeast region. Welcome to Accelerating Social Benefits, Access, and Delivery. Thank you for being here. We have two amazing panelists. We have Anthony Flot, who's the Chief Technology Officer in Arizona Medicaid Agency, otherwise known as Access. And we also have Darris Adkins, who was formerly with the state of Tennessee Department of Human Services. And now he's my colleague at ServiceNow as a senior missions account exec. We want this session to be interactive. There's a microphone there, so if you have questions or you have information, you need more information, want to add something, I feel like we have a rowdy crew here with because we said the party was, you said the crew was here, right? So there's a microphone there. Please feel free to chime in. We would like for you to let us know kind of where you are, what agencies you work with now. So is anyone here from the federal agency? You can raise your hand. Great, thank you. How about state? Okay, one. And local, cities, counties, K through 12? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you again for being here. We're going to chat with Anthony and Darris in a moment here about how they use ServiceNow to solve some of their complex business challenges. We'll also talk about, what is the hot topic of the day, which is AI. And let me see if I can move this. There we go. Imagine a world where you have a caseworker that opens up a new case for review, and inside there's already a comprehensive summary with key details. But also the AI agents have autonomously determined the next actions by reviewing not only that case, but the documents and also relevant case history. And all you have to do is approve for it to execute and take those actions. That's what our ServiceNow platform for government transformation can provide. It's AI agents plus data plus workflow working together in a single system of action, one platform. It connects all of your business together across the technology landscape using our workflow data fabric. It can access your legacy systems as well as your modern ERP systems. The data fuels the AI agents with insights, and the workflow delivers transformational outcomes. So Anthony, I'd like to hand it over to you. You've had some amazing transformational outcomes in Arizona. Would you please just share with the audience a little bit more about yourself, but also about the work you've done in Arizona?
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming today. Appreciate you all making the trip out with the weather and everything. So I'm Anthony Flot. I'm the CTO, as she mentioned, for the Arizona Medicaid Agency, Access. I've been there about 7.5 years now. And most of my time there has been around modernization. And ServiceNow is one of those key products we're using, not just on the IT side, but also on the business delivery side, where we're trying to bring, because when you really step back and think about it, when you ask the business, what are you doing? It's a workflow, right? Almost all of their tasks and processes are workflows. And so we're bringing that unified portal design throughout the entire enterprise so that not just IT is using it, but the business is using it, our clients are using it, and everybody has that same unified look and feel, right? It's that same approach. So it doesn't matter if you're dealing with the legal department or if you're dealing with HR or IT, right? It's the same portal, same look and feel.
Absolutely, thank you. Darris, would you do the same? Share with us some more about your background in your work at Tennessee.
Sure. Hey everybody, Darris Adkins, and I led the modernization effort for the Department of Human Services for Tennessee. Also, I was the technology director for SNAP TANF. So, if you're part of federal or state government, you wear multiple hats at multiple times. So I guess I was a pioneer with using the platform outside of ITSM and really understanding the power of the platform in its very early stages. And we were able to transform, seemingly, we put up a emergency portal, our first foray into ServiceNow. We put up an emergency portal in about 3.5 days. Wow. So, and then we expanded on that portal over the next 14 days, but ultimately being able to process eligibility for emergency benefit relief, and now it it literally has infiltrated the entire agency, and every program at some point is working on ServiceNow. We had about a 90% conversion rate from our customer base. So we saw 90% of our customers join online in the first 3 months of the system going live, and it continues to grow.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So obviously we're doing this work for our constituents, our citizens, get the most out of it. How have your citizens responded? What have you all seen with the engagement and the communication changes? Darris, you had the floor, so I'll start with you.
Again, 90% of our citizen engagement came online. We've seen a reduction in call wait times in Tennessee. They were upwards of about 5.5 hours at one point. Wow. And now they're down to about an hour when we get extremely busy. But typically about a 20-minute wait time. Most of our engagement happens after hours at this point. So we've seen about a 40% increase in after-hour engagement just by using the AI agents, if you will, and a lot of the self-help tools.
Great. How about you, Anthony?
We're still early on in our journey, so I want to speak to it on what people are expecting, as opposed to and where we want to go. Right? I don't think it's any secret. Nobody wants to sit on hold anymore and wait on phone calls. I mean, let's be honest. Most people don't even want to talk. They just want to live chat, right, or take care of it themselves. And so it's really about how are we going to deliver the solutions our members and our citizens are demanding, right? We live in this Amazon experience world where, you know what I mean? They want to be able to click, next, finish, right?
Yeah.
And we've got to provide that experience for them. Not only that, but like Darris said, they all can't necessarily call us between 8 and 5. And so we've got to be able to have a solution and experience that is available 24/7 and available when they have time, right? And that's really the experience we're trying to deliver for everyone, right? It sounds like Tennessee is well ahead of us, but we're on our way to getting there as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I totally agree with you. And when you think about like real world outcomes and the expectations, one of the things that our agencies across the board are having to consider are what's happening in the world today. What administration changes are we seeing, whether it's a governor or president or internal changes, and how we're handling those. Do you have advice for the folks in the room on how to manage through those times? Oh, you can go.
I'll go to you.
Oh man. Duck and cover. No, I think, you know, part of it is trying to get ahead of expectations, right? And almost every new administration, even if it's at a smaller level or a broader level, you're delivering services to the citizens, whether it be in your local area, your county, your city, your state, right? Or at a federal level. You're delivering services at some aspect. And so how can you get ahead of the curve, so to speak, and deliver those services as efficiently as possible and meeting the member or the constituent where they are, as opposed to what I like to phrase is like the old government where it was like, you come to me and I'll help you. We need to be able to meet them where they're at to provide the help. The tools are out there, the technology is available. We just need to be able to use it to provide those services and reach out and allow people to get what they're looking for when they're looking for it.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that brought us to ServiceNow was the ability to make changes as we needed to make changes and not wait on COBOL programmers that would take 4-5 months to change a rule, because rules change quickly. And we're seeing now with that, especially now, it's brand new, so everything is changing rapidly. And we need to make updates to our systems across the board. So ServiceNow was that platform that allowed not only our technology partners to make changes, but our internal partners, our program partners to make changes quickly and test efficiently, right? I think that was the other challenge is what we always, I know when I was in state government, the testing cycle was longer than the programming cycle oftentimes, because the technology had to test, and then programming had to test, and then somebody else had to test some more, right? So I think that now finding a platform like ServiceNow, which I think is the most incredible platform we could have ever introduced into the state of Tennessee, it aligned perfectly with where we were, and now has allowed Tennessee to really grow rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean I've seen that as well, where customers have been able to be agile and change, and implement within months, not years, which is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about change a little bit. There are thousands of books out there on change. I remember when I first read Who Moved My Cheese and was wondering which mouse I was, right? But there's all these books about change, and we're talking about it, and we know that in the world, we're changing all the time, right? But in the workplace, we don't always expect it. I know every time I see the update pop up on my screen, I'm like, oh gosh, I hope it doesn't mess up any of my settings, or things like that. So how do you all manage that? What are some strategies that you can share, and how you manage the change, but also encourage the adoption of the new platform? Darris?
For me, it was engaging your team, right? And it's really difficult, right? Because everybody's busy. We're all overworked. We all have 20,000 jobs on our plate. We've got, across, especially in Snap TANF world, we're seeing a rise in applications, and we're still required to meet those deadlines, right? But we in Tennessee made the decision, and I had a great team of executive leadership that backed me up. Like, we need the time of the people that are actually doing the work to participate in the change. So the adoption rate was theirs, right? And it was their challenge to push out to others, right? So because they had a hand in it, because oftentimes when we make change in government, it comes top down instead of top and bottom meeting in the middle and everybody working together. So I think that was the evolution of change for Tennessee, and allowing us to be so successful in having an adoption rate very quickly.
That's great. How about you, Anthony?
I'm going to ask a quick question. Anybody listen to Coach K? All right. So he hit on something right away that I've been leaning into throughout my career, and it's explaining the why, right? And I mean, it's so vitally important. I remember when I started at Access, and I was working with the technology teams, and they were they were taking down an FTP server, and I asked them, do you know what that does? And they're like, it moves files. It's an FTP server. And I'm like, no, but do you know what it does? And they're like, moves files. And so I said, yeah, here's the problem. If you take that down at the wrong time, and an MCO sends in an eligibility request, and it's for someone who maybe needs dialysis tomorrow, and that FTP server's down, and they can't get the services they need, do you realize the impact that now has? And it was like a light bulb moment. They're like, I had no idea. And so I think explaining the why we need to make this change, right? That's good. And how it's going to impact the people that you live with, the people we work with in some cases. And so, again, I think when you approach change from that aspect, and help them understand, the complete impact, not just I'm changing what you do today, but how it's going to change other parts, right? Darris said something earlier, right? There's nobody in government who has one job.
No.
We all got several. But if I can automate one of those jobs away, right? So now you can, maybe you're focusing on your top 3, but let me take some of those ancillary jobs that you don't really want to do, but they fell on your plate. Let me automate those. Let me use some AI to take care of that for you. And that way, maybe you get back to why you really started the mission or joined the agency, right? Again, nobody's working in government to get rich. Most people are there because they believe in the mission and they want to help others. And it's really, let's get people back to doing that, and less of those, ancillary tasks that have to be done, but nobody wants to do them.
Right.
I love that. So you mentioned AI, so I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. First, let me just poll the audience. Have you guys implemented AI? Or are you considering doing that? You have. What's your name?
My name's Eric Bourne. I'm with ID.me.
Oh,
Okay.
I
We
fancy-
power 20 federal agencies and 45 state agencies. And we have agentic, we call it agentic AI for verifying that you are you. So we're taking humans out of the process, therefore reducing human error, reducing fraud, and turnaround time.
Yeah.
So my question to these guys is, as you start to apply a digital fast lane to your constituents, are you having a problem with getting them through identity verification?
I think,
Like the pass rates?
yeah, I think the pass rates are dependent. So again, taking a step back and looking at from a federal agency perspective, the rules that govern different agencies, you have to take all of those into account. I was lucky enough to be, I call it the lucky sucker. I was lucky enough to deal with all of the different agencies because DHS had 7 different programs underneath its umbrella. So the challenge in identifying and making sure that you get it right the first time so that you're not challenged with legal challenges across several opportunities is difficult, right? And I think most states have to deal with kind of I think it's better now, but back in the day it was kind of a and or maybe, right? So it's like, maybe we could do that, but we probably shouldn't. So let's just do this and then make someone come into our office if we cannot identify them. I think that line is kind of fading away because the tools have gotten better and we're able to identify people like using companies and platforms like ID.me and LexisNexis and all the rest of them that are there. I think that has gotten better, but it is still a challenge for every state because some people don't have identification. Some people don't have credit history. I think those are the challenges that we face.
Yeah, so you can imagine Puerto Rico, multilingual, families share the last names,
Yeah.
not a smartphone for the telecom check,
Yeah.
not the banking records or the mortgage profile for LexisNexis. So we went in after LexisNexis and tripled the IRS pass rate from 24 to 78%, and probably one of the most kind of underserved communities in the U.S.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anthony, you want to answer that question? I think that would be interesting to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I'll say identity management is crucial, especially at the state level programs, right? You have your federal, standards that you have to meet, and then you have usually more, in most places, a more stringent set on the state level, and then you might even have a more stringent set at the county level in some instances, right? So being able to get the identity management part down is part and parcel to not having them come into my office, right? And so that is absolutely key in being able to find a solution where you can lock that down. We're talking about members, but it's the same in my world for providers. I have 100,000 providers that I have to credential and know who they are, and it's no different. I need an identity management solution for them. Look, I know you got something. I hear that. I'm just saying the identity management part
I'm
is
selling the
absolutely
concept, not
crucial.
myself yet. But but the key thing is, you're trying to replace the $80 per person in-person visit, and if you do it with a call center, it's still $40 to $50. But if you use AI, agentic AI, and remove humans from the process, cost goes down to about $3.
Nice.
That's the punchline.
Yeah.
So who else in the room has either implemented AI or is considering AI this year? You are? Considering.
This year, but not considering implementation this year. We're looking at it for a future roadmap.
Okay, great. She shared that they're looking at it for a future roadmap. Just want to capture it on that video. Anyone else? Do you have any questions around there? Any thoughts you want to share? Okay, then I'll turn it over to you, Anthony, who is in the process of considering it now. What are the steps that your organization is taking to leverage AI and in your process of considering how you enhance social benefit services?
Yeah, I think we all get excited about, AI. Oh, it's going to solve everything, right? But it's just like any other IT tool. You've got to have a purpose and a use case for it. right? You can't just throw it at all your data and expect magic, right? So I think it's really about identifying the use cases where you're going to get the biggest bang, if you will, right? And so I'll bring up one that we have. So in the Medicaid world and healthcare world, prior auth. Everybody might be familiar with prior auth. Means I need something from the doctor about a service that someone's about to get, and they have to usually send in additional information, and then we approve that prior to them doing the work or submitting the claim, right? Usually when that happens, they submit a bunch of information to us. I mean, this is a perfect use case. 9 times out of 10, we're just checking to see if it's filled out, if the information's in there, and then if everything's filled out right, then we send it over for the medical review, right? AI can't quite do that yet. Maybe we're getting there soon, not quite yet. But that initial first step, we spend hundreds and hundreds of hours each month just making sure that everything was sent in correctly, that everything's filled out correctly, and then we send it back, and then they send it back, on and on. AI can do that for us, right? And we already have use cases where we're looking to review that documentation automatically when it comes in and cutting out the manpower from doing that initial first pass right there up front. Another one that we're implementing is on the program integrity side. So how are we watching claims? Because we also have fee for service in Arizona. We're not just managed care. How are we watching claims so that we're not getting hit with fraudulent claims or people who are saying they did work and didn't do work, right? And there are tails for when people submit that we can key on and block that before it's ever been paid, right? Get that over to the OIG so they can do their part, but we stop the money from going out the door. So those are a couple specific use cases that we found. I have several more, but those are the 2 that we're trying to get implemented this calendar year.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Did you want to share on that? Or?
I think everyone is dealing with AI and how they want to implement it. I think that we're all waiting on certain agencies to give guidance for how far we can go, because AI has probably gone farther down the road than any of us care to admit. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I used, and we called it RPA, but it was really AI, right? Was being able to quickly identify eligibility, the opportunity for eligibility, so that, especially during a disaster time, like Tennessee had tornadoes, you've got 7,000 to 8,000 people waiting on determinations. We don't have days, we've got minutes. So being able to quickly run through the application, make sure that they filled it out, and then identify, okay, they got 4 people, based upon the guidance, they should qualify for this. And now our team members can go and they can review it. The case managers can review very quickly and make sure everything is done and the math is done correctly, and then approve. So we took that whole process down from about 7 days to an hour.
Yeah, that's great.
Imagine that.
That's amazing stats. I know some of the things that come up, or one of the things that comes up when we say, oh, hey, we can take the manpower out of it, is like, okay, what do you do with those employees? Is there a concern on that side of the house?
No. No, we all have 50 jobs. No, if, like Anthony said earlier, if we could take away one of the 50 jobs, we've added value. I mean, and then, like he said as well, we can focus on the mission. Again, none of us are in government, or we're in government because of the money, because it's a lackluster job, especially when everyone is coming at you saying that you did it wrong when all you're trying to do is help, right? And we've all been there that work in these kinds of agencies. But I think if we could take away one job and give somebody that 4 or 5 hours that they were spending on that one job back, they could help some other family, live a better, healthier life.
I thought it was my watch wanted to talk to me, sorry.
And she says she put everything on silent, not the watch. It's funny, so when I came 7.5 years, it's my first foray into state government, came from the private sector. And I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to work less hours. Man, I got lied to.
Lied.
Man, I thought for sure it was going to be better work life. Man, don't get me wrong, I love what I do, right? But everybody underneath me also works a lot of hours, and other departments, same, right? And so I've heard this from people, even within my own agency, and I ask them every single time. I'm like, okay, cool. If I take those jobs away from you, you'll have nothing to do. And they're like, oh no, I still have all this. I'm like, exactly. There is more than enough to do. We're never funded at the level we need to be at. We never have enough staff. Let me rephrase that. We always need more staff, right? We have enough staff to get the job done. We could always use more to do it better, right? But using AI, using technology, again, like Darris said, if we can automate some of these tasks, some of these jobs, these roles, and give that time back so people can get back on mission, that's the key. That's the key. And I we'll be decades in doing that before we get to the point where it's like, all right, now we can reduce staff, right? I know the big news articles where people are laying off entire staffs because they're putting in AI. Government's nowhere near that. We're nowhere near that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because that often is the look on their face. It's like, well, if they take that away, what am I going to do? So thank you all for sharing. Darris, you have a special role here at ServiceNow working with our Health and Human Services customers. Would you like to share a little bit about your role here?
Great. Well, so I transitioned today, 1 year ago, from state government into private sector, working for ServiceNow. I lead the Health and Human Services practice for state and local government, so I support all 50 states and territories. I exchange one busy job for another one, that's all. I think what I have seen, and one of the things that I love about this opportunity is that I get to help everybody in this room. I get to go to different states and agencies and talk about what the art of the possible. When I was pitched this opportunity, a good friend of mine said, okay, you're helping 2.3 million families today. What about 200 million families? And that, again, when you're mission driven, you're all about the mission. So money isn't bad, but you're all about the mission. So I love the fact of being able to help still be mission centric and help other states and government entities help people. And so that's what we're doing here at ServiceNow. AI is really taking the lead in helping us kind of leapfrog over all of our competitors in the fact of we're one platform and seamlessly integrate across everything. You don't have to rip and replace. That was the joy. That's the one thing, I don't know about you, Anthony, the one thing that when we first were introduced to ServiceNow, having a singular platform that I don't have to rip and replace, but I can gradually move over, like, man, I was like, sign me up today because I've got a 40-year-old system that I don't want to touch, right? And I think that's the challenge that with many of the people in this room. We've got 40-year-old systems that work just fine. Don't touch them.
What you want them to do. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to speak on that at all?
Yeah, I completely agree. I love the modular approach, so to speak, right? Where maybe my adjudication system runs fine, but it has an outdated front end. And what I really need to do is update my front end, not update the adjudication process. And so ServiceNow allows you to be able to update that front end without touching that old mainframe, right?
Absolutely.
And let that mainframe still do what it does because it runs fine, right? You just need to, spruce it up, so to speak, right? Get away from those green screens, and that's definitely key, right? And the other thing I love is you had mentioned this earlier, being able to allow the business to update business rules without IT. They can go in and make tweaks without needing a coder to go do that in the mainframe or that system of record, and that's crucial in some of those fast moving, hey, the bill just came down, you need it implemented by October, if I need to program it, it's going to take 9 months, but if you have a nice business rule engine and a nice platform, you can put that in a matter of weeks, right?
Yep,
Great. Well, thank you. Those are all the questions that we had prepared, but we'd love to hear from you all. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I got one. Do you want?
Yes, yes, please. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you guys, because you're both innovators, and I think you took a very visible, application in SNAP and TANF and Medicaid, and are taking an innovative approach. Very visible to your constituents and in the political domain. A question I'd have is, as a first doing this, any lesson learned or surprise that you had that you would inform the audience or whoever may listen to this, that a real aha moment, if we would have known that, we would have maybe done something a little bit different. Formerly with IBM, love to hear the shout out to the mainframe and what you guys did.
Thank you for that.
I think for me is in the early stages of when you're writing your APDs and your IAPDs and all of the APDs, alphabets. Don't write yourself into a corner, right? Don't make it so large and so comprehensive that you can only go one direction, right? Now, I think, with some of the adjustments in the agencies, we're starting to see that, people are doing different things. Give yourself the opportunity to investigate as you go. Don't write yourself to say, oh, it has to be this kind of system, because when you do that and you get to the end of the road, the system that you envisioned 9 years ago is not the system that you end up with. So I would say in that early stage, just think about modular. Thank you about it. Thank you. Thinking about it in a more modular approach, and then and really kind of segmenting all of the different parts and pieces out so that it's not just one gigantic mammoth system that you end up with and you end up unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Great. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add, and I promise we were not out late last night, so it's good. I would say, so I've talked to lots of agencies, and in full disclosure, the Arizona Medicaid also runs Hawaii's Medicaid agency, right? We run the IT platforms for Hawaii. And of all of the agencies I've talked to in many different states, documentation is usually the most lacking thing, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody knows how the thing gets done. Is it written down anywhere? Nope. And so I bring that up because a business analyst, I feel, is crucial if you don't have great documentation, right? Mm-hmm. And being able to pull out of the business, what is that process? And workflow in that. And okay, and then it does this one, and then it does this one, and you've got to workflow that, right? Because in my experience, if you don't have that completely outlined and documented, when you go to build the system, it's going to be missing things. Because people are going to go, well, wait, it's not doing that other thing I do, and you didn't tell us that, right? You've got to have those documented, pull those out, and having a savvy, business analyst who can pull that out of state workers is kind of a skill, if I might be honest, right? Yeah. And that's key, and it's something that I think is usually missed when you're talking about IT projects. It's kind of like, yeah, we'll just throw a BA in. No, you need a skilled BA, especially somebody who may have some state or federal, some public sector experience.
That's
I think
great.
I would add to what Anthony just said is something he said earlier is remember to ask the why. As the BA is doing the workflow, remember to ask, why do we do it that way? Do we have to do it that way? And is there a better way that we could do this? Mm-hmm. Because when you start asking those questions, the light bulb starts going on, and you'll find the people that are actually doing the work are only doing it that way because someone said 30 years ago that this was the best way to do it. And I think we've all advanced from 30 years ago. So we can find different ways and different opportunities to make work easier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, any other questions from the floor?
You guys are a lively bunch.
I thought, yeah, thank you for asking your question. We appreciate it, both of you guys. Wanted to talk to you about Knowledge. We have the QR code here. How many of you have been to Knowledge? 1, 2, 3, okay. Anybody here who hasn't been, do you know what it is? Some people are looking at me like, what is she talking about? She knows what it is. You know what it is. Thank you so much. I'm going to have Anthony because he's excited to talk about Knowledge.
I'm going to give a quick shout out. I know we're down to our last few seconds, but if you are interested in the platform, if you are thinking about expanding on the platform, Knowledge is a great event. You can literally grab somebody from just about any part of the platform and say, show me how to do this. And they will walk you through and do that. If you have a lead architect or some lead developers who you want to send, this is a great time. They will come away with knowledge about the product and the platform, and I'm telling you, it's really been instrumental in our journey and what we've been doing. So.
Yeah. I went last year for the first time. Love that we had product leaders there. We have salespeople there. We have folks from all walk of life that can share with you on, like you said, on the spot. We have labs as well, so you can still get CPE credits if that's something that you're interested in. But all roles in your organization can come to Knowledge and gain great insights about ServiceNow. So just want to also share with you some QR codes. You can learn more about the agentic platform that we have for government transformation, as well as additional information on products, and again, QR code for Knowledge. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Anthony and Darris, as well. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.